The Orioles take their act from D.C. up to New York for the weekend. And, of course, fake football on Saturday night. The Detroit Lions coming down from the mountain, and we'll see how it goes with Joe Flacco out on the field for the first time. I know a lot of folks anticipating that. In Detroit, they're looking for a running game and a stout defensive front and all sorts of things there. Mike Stone has covered Detroit sports for many, many years and spent some time down in D.C. with George Michael and the Sports Machine, and I like him already because he likes Bruce Springsteen. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Stoney16. That's Stoney 16, sort of like Stoney Case, but we don't want to bring that up, right, Mike Stone? How you been, man?
Oh, I'm good. Stoney Case, he was the quarterback when Batch got hurt that they had to put in this game against the Bears where the Lions missed the playoffs, and because of that, they brought in Matt Millen. So it's all Stoney's fault, not me.
The whole Lion meltdown of the last 50 years, you're pinning on to Stoney Case.
Yeah, well, just the Millen, just maybe this part of the Millen hiring, yes.
I'm blaming Joey Harrington for everything until it's time to blame Matt Stafford. Hey, is it time to blame Matt Stafford yet? I mean, you've seen it all there, and they've obviously not had the level of success as a franchise they want to have, and we could sit here and talk about every Charlie Batch or Eric Hipple. I read those awful stories about Hipple, not being but from a Detroit quarterback standpoint, this was the number one pick. This was the great hope. You're 8 years into the experiment. Do you know more now than you did then?
I think Matthew Stafford is anywhere from an average to an above-average quarterback. He might be, second tier. He's certainly been a lot better than Joey Harrington. In fact, except Eric Kramer won the only playoff game since 1957 here. Stafford is the best quarterback the Lions have had in most people's lifetimes, but that doesn't excuse anything. He's the number. He should be performing better for the money that he gets, no doubt about it.
Well, I mean, the pieces around him, and look, I still have a long friendship with Jim Schwartz, and I looked at the roster beginning of the week when I started talking to people from Detroit, as I do leading up to the game, and I'm like, man, he wouldn't even recognize most of these guys. I mean, that roster went from pretty good, and he was blamed for it, to most of those guys are now gone, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Schwartz, he's proving that he's a great assistant coach. He wasn't ready. I like Jimmy a lot, but anyway, the roster. Look, he's had weapons. I mean, he's had Calvin Johnson. He still has Golden Tate. He had Best till he got hurt. I mean, Stafford's problem is he's just not accurate enough, and a lot of it is him. But he is times nasty where he makes the sickest throws that nobody in the league can make. And then he'll make throws that you'll sit there and say, why the hell did he throw that ball? I think he's okay, but okay is not good enough when you drafted number one overall.
Well, and beyond okay, the running game needs to be better than okay, and certainly the front line. He's been harassed. He hasn't had the weapons around him. Obviously, Calvin Johnson just didn't want to do this anymore. This is sort of a new day and a new page. Look, nobody's expecting this team to go out and win 12 or 13 games this year. The question is, how will they look? How will the front line look, and how will they run the football?
Well, that's the biggest problem is running the football. Their offensive line is young and not very good. Their number one pick, Decker from Ohio State, hasn't looked really good this preseason, but it is preseason. He's a rookie playing left tackle. They've had Tomlinson from Duke was the number one pick the year before. They've invested a lot of early picks in the offensive line, and it hasn't panned out, and quite frankly, that's why they can't run the football. I mean, when's Barry Sanders coming back?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask about him, and I had mentioned Sims a little earlier in the week as well. Mike Stone here, he's Stoney16 out on Twitter, longtime sports voice in Detroit. You can follow his journey at Stoney16 on Twitter. For the defense and Haloti Ngata being a part of this thing, the Sue exodus and how much money he got, and I don't want to say what little impact he made in Miami. It certainly felt like Detroit wanted all along to keep him until the money got crazy. Big differences without a guy of that magnitude in the middle last year. Did you notice it?
Well, a little bit, especially since Haloti Ngata really didn't do much because he was hurt most of the year. He played better towards the end. He's in much better shape this year. Actually, the defensive line is their best part of this football team. Ziggy Ansah is going to be great. Devin Taylor's not bad inside. They got a lot of decent guys with obviously with Ngata. Yeah, the defensive line is the depth and the strength of this football team. There's just no doubt about it. They don't have much there. And their wide receivers, even without Calvin, are pretty good. Marvin Jones, Golden Tate are decent. And it's funny, you mentioned Sue. The problem, this is so typical of this franchise, they knew going into that draft that, Sue was going to be a free agent. Nick Fairley, who they drafted in the first round the year after Sue, was going to be a was a free agent. In fact, they renounced him, basically did not extend him before the draft. Everybody knew. So when you know that you think you know that you might have a problem at defensive line, wouldn't you think with the 10th overall pick, with Aaron Donald sitting there, you might invest in your future, some insurance, and pick him instead of taking a tight end, Eric Ebron, with the 10th overall pick? That's the problem with this franchise. They did so many stupid things.
Well, I mean, for them at this point, I looked up, and, I know of Megatron gone and Sue gone, and I say, well, who is their best player? The answer I keep getting is Ziggy Ansah, and that's a fine answer. But, that's if he's your best player, you probably don't have skill position players, right?
Yeah, you're probably. I mean, Golden Tate's pretty good. Marvin Jones is pretty good. But Abdullah is going to be their best running back. He's really, but that offensive line, not that good. Slay is pretty good. They gave him a big contract extension in the defensive backfield. They do have, Levy missed all of last year except for like one game with an injury. He's a very good linebacker. But that's it. And that's why this team will struggle to win 6 games. I mean, a lot of people in the front office of this team, they got all excited, got giddy because they won 6 out of the last 7 last year. They finished, 7-9, but at least they did the right thing and they swept out the general manager and they brought in a guy from New England, Bob Quinn, who I think drafted pretty well as far as building a foundation for the team. I don't think they're going to be good this year at all. And the biggest question is, how much are they going to extend Matthew Stafford by, if at all?
Well, look,
everybody says, once Luck got that contract, the next highest paid quarterback in the NFL is going to be Matthew Stafford because of contracts. If Matthew Stafford is the highest paid player or the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, there's a real problem.
Stoney, if you're, you've been there a long time and you watched all the Matt Millen and how the franchise was run with, we've had incredible patience here with Ozzie Newsome, but it's been easy to be patient because we win a lot. In Detroit, there was patience there with the previous ownership, and now the matriarch takes over the family, and Marth Vader, I've been hearing all week. Your thoughts about a new philosophy there, because if that's the case, 6 wins is probably going to show Jim Caldwell the gate, right?
I would hope so. And I'm almost. I mentioned this on the air. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to ask you this: what would happen if the Ravens struggle and don't make the playoffs for the second year in a row?
I think John Harbaugh and Ozzie have to be concerned. I would say if they're 5-11 this year, and a Flacco injury is not part of that, there should be palpable concern this year, yes.
All right, because my grandiose idea is the Lions stink, which they should. Caldwell gets fired, and if Baltimore misses the playoffs and Harbaugh gets fired, then you bring Harbaugh to the same area as his brother and have John Harbaugh coach the Lions. But that's a long
We don't like that scenario here, Stoney. One Harbaugh is enough for any area. I mean, we had 2. I was at practice on Wednesday, and Jack was out there. That's 2 Harbaughs. That's a lot of Harbaughs we got here. Why do you like your Harbaugh up there, huh? I mean, Michigan was a quiet, sleepy little community up there until Captain Comeback showed up, right?
It's still quiet. I like him. I think whether he's in the last more than 5-6 years, who the hell knows. But he's a terrific coach, as you know. He's eccentric. He's weird. We interview him every Thursday on the show, and you never know what you're going to get. Sometimes he'll give you some pearls of wisdom, and other times he'll just basically read press notes. He's done a great job. He's re-energized, as you know, one of the blue blood programs of college football that was so bad since they hired Rich Rod and then Brady Hoke.
Hey, it was so bad that Maryland went in there and won, and the first chance. I mean, we thought the big bad Big Ten, and Maryland got off to a good start with Penn State and Michigan. Now these teams start to reload again, and we realize, oh yeah, they're Maryland.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think DJ Dirk is actually going to do a pretty good job, but you have to. Hopefully, they'll be patient. I went to that game last year in the rain, and boy, that was a bad Maryland team, and so bad that the Lions hired Randy Edsall to be their clock management guy.
Well, there's already a whole contingent of purple coming back here. You got Caldwell, you got Terrell, you got Nada, you got Copeland, Josh Bynes, Anquan Bolden. This is a whole purple thing going on here this Saturday night.
I know, for, as you call it, fake football.
It is fake. It's awful, right?
It's horrible. It's legalized blackmail for people who have season tickets.
I am in that subset, by the way, Stoney.
Oh, you know what? I gave up my Lions tickets for the first time this year because they kept raising the prices for what? They just get worse and worse. And I said, you know what? Any game that I can go, if I want to go to, they're on StubHub for less than face value anyway. So what do I have season tickets for? It's nuts.
Well, I mean, a lot of people would say the same thing about the Orioles here. I mean, they can't sell tickets. I mean, it's a problem, and they're in the pennant race. And, you don't need to get a season ticket to go to an Oriole game. You stick your finger out the window and check the weather, and if you like the starting pitchers, and it feels like the traffic's okay, you go,
It's the same thing. You know what? This is a problem all sports is going to have soon. Because people are finding that, it's more comfortable to sit in their home with their big screen TV, and when they want to go to a good game, they can go to a good game anytime. If they have to pay a little extra, they will.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Mike Stone's here. He is Stoney16 on Twitter. He does sports radio out there in Detroit at 97.1 The Ticket. He's also StoneyandBill.com, another way to find him out there. Hey, a little Tigers for you before I let you go here. They've been hanging around. The Orioles were at the top, and now feels like they're bottoming out. Certainly the Tillman news, not good news on Wednesday. But, in your division, you got the Kansas City Royals coming. This is going to be 6 or 7 teams looking for 2 wild card spots before it's all over with.
I agree, because unless Cleveland does something catastrophic, the Tigers or the Royals are not going to catch them. So it's either have to catch the Orioles or the Red Sox. And you mentioned the Royals, man. They've been unbelievable. All of a sudden they think, hey, you know what? We should defend our championship in style. Tigers are a strange bunch. It seems when they pitch, they can't hit, and when they hit, they can't pitch. But lately, their starting pitching has been good. Every team has injuries, as you know. The problem with the Tigers is all their injuries basically came at one time. J.D. Martinez gets hurt. He's back, and then you have Castellanos is hurt. Iglesias is on the DL. Maiden was on the DL. He just came back. Jordan Zimmerman's been hurt. It's been just a 6-week period of major, major injuries, and I think they're too far behind where they're going to be that they can't compensate for it. However, the Orioles do come in here for 3 games, and who knows what. The Tigers do play well at Comerica Park for the most part.
Verlander has been really good. He's a guy I've always pulled for. I think this year has been a nice little comeback story for him because he was spelling washed out, and he already had the wash, right?
Oh, he's been great. I mean, he got a little tough start, and then you go back to May, he tweeted out after Cleveland killed him that I'm back and, I'm coming back and don't let this, dissuade you and things like that. And he's been incredible. If he didn't have the beginning, he'd be in the Cy Young consideration. Look, they're starting pitching. And, it's so funny when he does bad, all the idiots, it's because of Kate Upton, he's bad, he doesn't concentrate. Let me tell you something. That stuff is garbage. He's been fantastic, and they're going to have the Rookie of the Year too, and Michael Fulmer, unless something happens to him that's bad lately.
Well, I wouldn't want to see him in a short series for that reason, and certainly all these teams trying to sneak in at this point on the baseball race. And then the Pistons have improved. A little side note, Brian Billick, our dear partner here at WNST, his future son-in-law just signed a deal with the Pistons, John Lure. So we got a Piston member as part of our family now, so I got to pull for the Pistons this year.
Boy, he must have had pictures of somebody to get that kind.
That's the NBA, though, right? I mean, everybody got twice as much money as you thought they were going to get in the offseason, right?
That's for damn sure. Pistons will be okay. I mean, they finally made the playoffs again. We love Stan Van Gundy. He's done a great job. If Andre Drummond figures out how to make free throws, they actually might be able to do something.
Hey, man, we'll be listening and checking you out on Twitter. It's always great to catch up. I appreciate the time, Stoney. Thanks for coming on, man.
Take care.
He is Michael Stone, formerly of the Sports Machine with George Michael down in D.C. at American University. I didn't even talk any Springsteen with him because, you guys get enough of that from me. And now that the boss is back on the East Coast, if you're following me out on Twitter or Facebook, I'll be making you sick with some boss postings. That's okay. It's the only boss I listen to, quite frankly. So welcome Springsteen back, Pearl Jam, Buffett. Got things going on around here. It's rock and roll time of the year. I'll be in Germany next week meeting the guy who saved my wife's life. We're going to be talking about that on our social media as well. You can always email me, nasty@WNST.net, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram. as well as Facebook Live and our WNSTV YouTube channel where we stream live as well. Anything you miss here, you can find in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. It is easy to download, podcast, listen when you want, where you want. And if you want to listen live, just download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear. Our morning newspaper hits your email inbox each and every morning at 7 a.m. It is powered up by our friends at Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. You want a little inspiration this summer, go to PlanetOfTriumphs.com. That's always a good thing to do. Last but never least, breaking news, if it happens, when it happens, going to happen first on the WNST Tech Service. Ravens going to be making cuts. Orioles coming up on the 40-man roster. Things will be happening around here. You don't want to miss it. You want to be on the WNST Tech Service. You get it first, guaranteed. That's why 10,000 people are on it. It is all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.